Hey,
Yes, in the flesh, baby. What's
what's going
going on?
on?
Another Wednesday. Oh man,
Devo and
all
Chris
good.
Joe show. Hey,
Yes,
Joe,
sir, man.
before we get going, you remember this right here? I can't do the other arm though.
Oh,
I
for
can only
sure.
do one arm.
You gotta hit the wave one time. Dog. Come on, break dancing. That's one thing about me. Behind closed doors, I think I got all the moves, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, yeah, behind closed doors.
Yeah, behind closed doors, definitely.
Yo, we appreciate everyone tuning in. QSportsTalk.com. Me and Chris Joe coming from VMix Live. We got Coach Adrian Autry coming on today. Hopefully he's hopping on in a few minutes. We'll talk about his son committing. He just committed recently, I think the other day, to George Washington. And here he
Oh
is.
my goodness. There you go, right there. That's my man
Shout
right
out my
there.
guy Red.
What's going on, fellas?
Coach
Let me
Red,
get this
appreciate you
camera
Right
hopping.
right,
there.
man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
all
Get it
good.
right. Get it right.
Can you guys
Hey, Red.
hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you
sir.
good.
All right.
Appreciate you hopping on,
Finally,
man.
finally on the
Finally.
Devo show.
Finally,
Come
man.
on, man.
Finally.
Devo and Chris Joe, man. We holding it down.
Devo Chris Joe show. My guys.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Red,
Yes, sir.
before we get started, I just want to jump it off, man, and say congrats to you. I see Trey committed yesterday to George Washington, and that's big
Big
time.
time.
Just kind of talk about how that makes you feel as a dad, because I remember seeing him as a young boy in the gym, just running around, and then I seen him probably in the summer 2 months ago. He a grown man, got shoulders like this, chiseled. So talk about how that kind of
Yep.
feels, man. Just him committing and making that happen.
It's a great feeling, man. Really proud of him. Couldn't be proud. One of the proudest moments of my life as a father. Just to see your son, obviously, as a dad, we all do. If we have boys or girls, something that's so important to us, and we
Facts.
love it. We grew up in as far as playing the sport of basketball, and didn't see one of them pick it up and kind of have the same passion and love and commitment to it, and to see their hard work pay off. Man, I couldn't be prouder and happier. So I'm just excited for him because he really he put the work in. It was his journey, and I think along that process, I always wanted to make sure that it was what he wanted to do, not something that he felt like he had to do or anything for me, just for him. And that's why it's such a gratifying feeling right now to see him put the work in and get it to work out, and to see him happy.
You're gonna
No
have to get some
question.
non-conference games going.
Oh yeah,
For sure.
oh yeah, yeah. Coach Caputo already called me and told me, "Can we get on the schedule?"
I already know.
As he should. As he should, man. But Red, bring us back. We're going to take it back just real quick. Like I told you before, just a little, we got to talk about just the upbringing real quick, and why Syracuse over the schools like St. John's that was right in your backyard. And, so just bring us back growing up Harlem, and what led you to choose Syracuse ultimately, instead of those schools that were close by.
Well, me growing up, man, back in the day, man, college was like, that was it, So and if you get and the NBA was just like, the topping. But for me,
Yeah,
growing up, single parent, I always say kind of the way I grew up in the streets and the basketball, that was like my I have a father, but at that time growing up, he wasn't around. He lived in a different place. So, basketball and kind of the streets were like my guiding, my
for
guiding,
sure. Your guiding hand.
guided me pretty much. It guided me.
Yeah,
And from those, I knew what to do and what not to do. I've seen a lot of things growing up, and but basketball was something that I fell in love with from the day I picked it up. It was something that kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. Growing up, you see different things. No
for
different
sure.
than the other probably urban setting, and back
Exactly.
then it wasn't that many ways that you can really go. It was either you're going to choose a path of sports or you're going to
Yeah.
choose a path of, whatever kind of came with
Yeah.
it. And
One or the other.
so,
You know
yeah,
what Biggie
so,
said? You know what Biggie said, man. We're
hell
gonna keep
yeah,
it at
a wicked
You
jump
got a
shot.
wicked jump shot, or you like that? Yeah.
So, that was kind of, I kind of made that decision early on. And I got lucky and got with a really good AAU program. My first coach actually was lived across the street from me, and he did it, and that was his passion. But I got to a certain point where it was time for me to enter high school, and it was some other AAU programs that had some relationships and connections that allowed me to go to a Catholic school. So he pushed me. He grabbed me up and said, "Hey, man, you need to go with one of these two AAU programs right here at the time because of their relationships." He said, I took you as far as I can take you. You need to,
Right.
go with one of these programs, and they can help you get into a good high school and, and help you kind of go into college. And I'll never forget that. His name was Tommy Sweet. They call it. His name was Tommy Sweet, and and at that time, it was funny. Guys like Kenny Anderson. His younger teams were really good. That was one of the first guys that I played with, a guy like Kenny Anderson, who
It's crazy.
he went on and went to one of those programs and kind of, which was the New
Yeah.
York Gauchos. So back then it was the Gauchos and the Riverside Hawks. So, you got one of those two programs and you were
Riverside
good.
Church Hawks, yeah.
There you go. And so I got with one of those programs and I went into a really good high school and it kind of took off from there. And to be honest, people still don't believe this to this day. Obviously I recruit and people go, "Coach, you know how it was recruiting?" And when you were growing up, because you was a big recruit. And when I was in high school, I just thought about high school. I never even thought about college until I was a senior. Like I was just trying to be the best in my
Right.
neighborhood and then the best on my basketball team, then the best on my AAU team. And so I never really got ahead of myself. So when it came to college and I had to come down to it, I had a really close friend of mine and he was a huge Syracuse fan. So I never followed college basketball until I became a senior. People don't really understand that. Like I didn't, I started watching college basketball going into my senior year. St. John's was obviously was a school. It was a guy named Kevin Williams who was from my neighborhood that played on St. John's. And the year before that, it was a guy named, Mark Jackson.
Oh yeah.
I started watching him and then did some homework on him. And so that was kind of my introduction. And then obviously growing up in the neighborhood, getting a chance to see Pearl, that was the first time I ever seen someone like, play like that. Pearl Washington was the first guy that I just do crazy things. So obviously when I started doing my homework, I was like, "Oh, Pearl went to Syracuse. Oh man." So the Syracuse kind of got on my radar, and a good friend of mine, he loved Syracuse. And at the time, my mom, she was a huge New York Knicks fan. And back then, Rick Pitino was the coach.
Okay.
So she loved the Knicks, and then Pitino wound up taking a job at Kentucky. So she was like, "You need to look at Kentucky." So and then my high school coach, he coached me, and then he wound up leaving and taking a job at Pittsburgh. So that's how my list kind of grew as far as my college options. But once I did my homework on Syracuse, and then back then that was kind of the Big East and on TV, and
Nah, for
it was
sure. Big
best.
time.
Yeah, it was big time. So when I went up on my visit, man, it just felt right. Obviously, coach he was great back then. And it was and it's still to this day, it was no place like the Dome. So obviously I love the stage, I love the crowd, I love the
Yeah.
support. But when I got on the campus, it just felt right, and so as soon as I got back home, I knew where I wanted to go. Kind of wanted to cut all my visits out, but my high school coach said, "Nah, you got to take one more." So I had to take one more, but I already knew once I left the campus where I was going, and that was pretty much my. It wasn't a lot of excitement in my recruitment. Once I found the school I knew I wanted to go, it was shut down from there. So
No question.
and so that's kind of how I chose Syracuse, and then after that, the rest was history.
A guy like me, I'm taking 5 visits. Regardless.
You sound like me. I took
man.
one.
You
That's
took
it. I took
one?
one. Q's. I mean, I did the locals, Georgetown,
Yeah.
Maryland. I did those,
Yeah.
but that was nothing for real. Like I just took my one visit to Syracuse, Midnight Madness. AO broke the
Oh
backboard,
man.
and I said, "Let's get it."
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sold.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh
I'm
yeah.
sold.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I'm sold.
I didn't need to see a whole lot, man. I went into that when they opened up. I went into that dome. I looked at the dome. I said, "Yeah, this is where I want to play at." And
Yeah,
then with the
that's all it
tradition,
takes.
obviously, those guys, Sherm and Derek and Billy. I was coming in behind those guys, and that was, I mean, I think from like '80, from like when from Pearl with Ralph Addison and Wendell Election, all those guys, man, like it was. I mean, Syracuse, man, it was just like, man, like how can you
That's a
not
tough
go
act
there?
to follow. Right? It's a
Oh
tough.
man,
You gotta
but
go
I
there. You
love the
got the
challenge
pressure of
though.
winning. Yeah, no question, no doubt.
Yeah,
Hey, Red. So when you were playing, at Syracuse, and then obviously you go overseas and play pro for a while, was there ever a moment, in that time when you were like, damn, I think I might want to be a coach? You know what I mean? Did you ever have that go through your mind that you think you would be in the spot that you're in right now, especially coming back to Syracuse?
yeah. No,
Full
I
circle.
didn't. You know, I, I played over there 11 years. So, after, towards the end, I knew that I had to make a transition. And I kind of wanted to get away from basketball. I kind of wanted to challenge myself in some different areas and different arenas. And so when I first finished up playing, I started working in the business sector. I was working in the title insurance business, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. And you know, my wife at the time told my wife not at the time. My wife, she said, "Hey, we should go up to Syracuse because we had our
Watch your mouth.
kids."
Yeah, hold
Yeah,
on now. Hold on.
and so we go up to Syracuse. I bring my oldest son. He was a baby at the time, just to kind of share with him my college experience where I played at, stuff
Yeah.
like that, and start talking to Mike Hop and Coach, and they were asking me what I was doing, and they both kind of just said, "Man, you need to be into coaching. You need to get into coaching." So they kind of put it on my mind more than I had it on my mind. And once I went back. It was crazy. I got an opportunity to coach an AAU team, and it was something to do on the weekend, so I did it. And once I started coaching, I just kind of fell back in love with it and loved that part of it, and being able to help and share and develop people and give back. I just fell in love with that, and then after that, I just kind of took off for me.
We'll
So,
talk
go
about
ahead.
that. My fault, Joe. Talk about like the moment you get to go back to Syracuse. That conversation between you and Coach Van, because it was you were at I know you were at VTech with Coach Greenberg right before then, was it? And
Yep,
then you
yep.
came from VTech and you came right to Q's, but right?
Yeah, well, I had a little pit stop in between there. I was at Virginia Tech, had just got on the road, and then got a call from Archie Miller. And Archie Miller had just got the Dayton job,
Okay.
and so he talked to me about it. I thought it was, he sold me, so I thought it was a good opportunity for me to kind of go somewhere else, because I was a director of ops at Virginia Tech, and it gave me a chance to kind of get back to like the East Coast. The Atlantic
Yeah.
Chambers, kind of a Northeast, Midwest kind of flavor to it. So I thought that was a great opportunity. So I take the job, right? I go up, I do the visit. I sit down, we talk. Everything's a good to go. I get my background check, and as this is all happening, Rob Murphy gets the Eastern Michigan job, right? So a buddy of mine calls me and says, "Hey man, they got a spot open up at Syracuse. You should give a call." And I'm like, "Man, they probably they probably already have that position filled."
Right.
I said, "But you know what? Let me give a call." So I call Hop, and Hop says, he calls. I call Hop. He picks up and he says, "You know how Hop is?" He said, "You need to call Coach right now." Call Coach right now. Let him know you want the job, like that, right? So I go, okay. And so I called Coach, and I think Coach was on like vacation or something, and not a vacation. He was away somewhere, and he picks up the phone and he's laughing, and he goes, "What's going on, Red? What's going on, Adrian?" I go, "Coach, what's going on?" I said, "I heard you got a spot open." And he says, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "But you're good, right?" I go, "Nah, Coach, I want the spot." He says, "You do?" And he says, "Okay, well, let me call you back." Right. So now, as I get off the phone, my wife's like sitting on the couch and she's like, "What did he say?" I said, "He says he's going to call me back." She goes, "Well, what does that mean?" I go, "He says he's going to call me back." So
Yeah.
I don't know. So I had to wait. Calls me back a little while and says, "Well, I'll meet you on Monday. Arrange the flights. I'll have my secretary call." He just starts talking just like that. Let's meet on Monday. Fly up to Syracuse. So now I'm saying, okay. So I'm excited. And then my wife says, "Well, does that mean you have a job or not?" And I go, I don't know. He just told me to come to Syracuse. So, so now this is all within like, an hour. And next thing you know, I get a call back. And it's from Dayton HR saying you cleared, your background check came through, you cleared. And it kind of just jogged my memory like, oh my God, I gotta find out, do I have this job when I call Autry back? So it was crazy, man. So obviously I had to call Coach back, and he gave me the word, and so then I had to call Archie, and I told him, I said, I normally wouldn't do this, but it's my alma mater. It's a dream come true to go back and
Come on, man.
and be a part of coach at my alma mater, and he understood that. And then kind of just took off from there, man. So, but it was a crazy, like almost 2 hours of like going back and forth and having to handle that. But it was exciting though. I was excited. I was excited.
So I'm gonna get back to you starting at Syracuse. So obviously I was there that first year that you came, but we're gonna get to that. But even before, so I'm gonna bring it back a couple of years, and I've told this story a couple of times, more than a couple, about how I even I guess got on Syracuse's radar was because of you. So I have I personally now, after hearing that story, you telling me that story, I don't know if I get Syracuse. If not, maybe I'd have ended up at Georgetown in the wrong colors. You know what I'm saying? So just so it's just crazy how things come full circle, because as a kid I always said Syracuse is my dream school. Melo's my favorite player. Like, I gotta get to Syracuse somehow. From Montreal, Quebec, Canada, I gotta get to Syracuse. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but this is my vision, right? And so I get to DC my first year, and unbeknownst to me, I don't know who. Like, obviously I'm new everywhere. Like, that you're on a staff at where Bishop Arrington, right? So you have my guy Jay Farrell. He was on that team.
Yeah.
He played for DC Assault. But unbeknownst to me, once again, there was a Syracuse guy on that staff, and that's my dream school, right? And I tell the story of I played a pretty decent game. I was flirting with a triple double damn near. And, all of a sudden Syracuse is on the radar. So I'm thinking it's because of the work that I put in. But really it's because you made a call and you putting them on the radar for me. So just once again, man, I appreciate that, because I was big time. That was big time, man.
He being modest, my man had like 30, 10, and like 9. I'm sitting on the bench and I'm like, who is this kid, man? Like, like, who is this? And then I forgot, me and Murph start talking, and I said, Murph, man, it's a kid down here, man, I just played against, man, 6'8", he can do it all, man. You need to follow up on him, man. And sure enough, he did, man. But I never forget that, man. The league at that time in DC was, man, it was that DC league was unbelievable, man. And
unbelievable.
So you had somebody else on your team too, man. You had another player. Rodney Magruder, yeah. Rodney Magruder was on your team.
Detroit Pistons right now. Well, he's with Murph right now in Detroit.
Yeah. I mean, every team at that time in that league had 2 to 3 high major guys, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and again, it's my second year on the bench, and Chris Joe, man, he just put a show on, man. He was shooting, he was breaking dudes down off the bounce, and we had our big man guarding him. It was no way he could guard him. So, but yeah, no, man.
Yeah, no, that
So
was
when
big
I
time.
got here, I already knew who you were, right?
You're right, right. So fast forwarding. So everything comes full circle. You get the job. We get the announcement. Naturally, I'm kind of like, damn, my man Murph leaving, but I'm excited, because this is, Coach Autry is going to be picking up the wings, and this is who I'm going to be working with, closely, right? So how was it for you? You come back as full circle. Do you think, like, did you feel a certain amount of pressure having to come in and come into a team that's pretty well established? Let's just say already we damn near probably preseason top 10, and now you got to, get these kids to buy what you're selling. Like, how is that as a coach to come in and you got to make everybody buy into what you got going on?
I mean, nervous, absolutely. I mean, we were loaded, and I remember coming in. Even when I came up, you guys were playing an open gym. It was like April, you guys April or something. And I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at the team. I'm like, oh my God. I hadn't paid much attention because I was just kind of stuck in my world. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I see like 7 or 8 NBA players on this court, man. And so once everything is official, I mean, I talked to Murph. I watched practice, I watched games.
Yeah.
So what I did was I tried to get myself familiar as much as possible because I knew it was a certain way we did things. So I watched all the practices. I watched all the drills in the game. So, so when I got to that first practice, I felt like I knew all of you guys. I felt like I knew what to do. So I was prepared in that aspect. And the fact that I knew you and I knew James Sutherland a little bit, that made the transition a little bit easier because, you remember I came to you and I said, hey, man, I know you're the senior, but I need you to be my leader, man. You remember that?
Yeah.
I said, man, I need you to lead this group for me, man. And but I just tried to get myself as much as prepared as possible and to be there for you guys and to challenge and push you guys because I think at that time, I think we all had that pressure and our expectations, and I knew it was real when we had our first team meeting, and obviously, I know Coach, man, and Coach, I had never heard him say this, and I don't know if you remember this meeting. He said, "We are a Final Four team," and I walked out of that meeting saying, "Wow, Coach is pretty. Let's play the season now. Let's see what happens." Right. But he basically was like, "There's no reason we should not be in a Final Four." And from that meeting on, it was, for me, it was on. I already knew we were talented and I knew we were on. And then obviously the preseason rankings and all that stuff started coming out. And you kind of knew where you were at. But, just doing the work, Chris, I had to do the work. I watched tape. I talked to Hop, talked to Murph. So I was just trying to get as prepared as possible. So that first day, you guys wasn't looking at me like, who is this guy right here? What is he? He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. It definitely helps knowing that you have, that you went to Syracuse as well. So that's one thing that I knew as a team,
no doubt,
that you played here. So there's already that amount of respect that's going to be given. Yeah, it's going to be there, regardless, right? So then it's like, okay, he went here. So we know that we did our research too. McDonald's All-American. We did everything that we had to do.
Right.
So, so that already, those credentials and those accolades, like you got to be, okay, we could learn from him. But when you came in, that energy was good. The energy was right in our group. Me, CJ, James, you know what I mean? We had a few walk-ons.
Damn, that's a group.
Mookie was in our group. Well, he was between groups, but and every day, lock in. That's what we had to do. That's when we come in, we meet up, we lock in, and we get right to it, man, in our group. So that was a good first impression, no question. And now you're a seasoned vet now. You a seasoned vet, man. Like that.
Yeah, I'm a seasoned vet, and I have to pull those stories back with these guys, man, with our young guys now to tell them, the standard for this group and what we've been through, these guys that's come here before you, man. So, but it's always good, man, to be able to kind of think back, and it's crazy. Every now and then, man, I go back and we still have some of those practices and some of those things that we did in our groups just to pull, because you got to change, you got to evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the position has changed and evolved a little bit too. So every now and then I kind of go back to try to see how I can help these guys, execute the game plan and get them prepared and ready. But I'll tell you a cool story real quick about Chris Joe. I don't know if you remember this. Your first year coming back from Boston. Me and you at a certain point in time, we kind of bump heads a little bit at the end, the end of the year. And I would try to get you to, come out ready. You were obviously, banged up on whatever it may be. And you came back and I never forget it. And you said, Coach, man, I get what you was trying to do, man. You was trying to get me to get in, lock in every day, man. And that meant the world to me, man. I was just like, man, I'm glad that you understood where I was trying to push you. I wasn't trying to be a friend when I walked in. I was trying to be able to push you. And I remember you said that, and that kind of gave me the encouragement to keep doing what I was doing and go further. And that was like your second year.
And you know what? What's funny is now that I'm coaching, that's how I approach it too. Like, I'm not really trying to be a friend. I'm trying to push you. I'm trying to prepare you for what's to come, because we obviously have no idea. As much as we could think we do, we don't know what's waiting for us, right, at that next level. So that piece right there is the same way that I treat the kids that I coach now. It's the same thing. And hopefully one day they could come back. And I told them, I know you. I know you feel like I'm hard on you, but one day you might come back and thank me, right? And that's the feeling of like the full circle. So I'm just trying to do the same things, man. Appreciate you.
That's a fact. Hey, Red, I kind of want to stick with what we're talking about, because you mentioned it a little bit about evolving, like, because each year is different. Like, the kids you come in are different, especially now from from 10 years ago to now. Like, just the kids are different. The whole mindset, the outside things, the social media, everything is different. And you've been in the game for a long time. So how is your approach different now than it was back then, having all the, different things come into play, NIL, all that stuff?
Well, it's a lot. And think about what we just talked about when you say that. It's so many different things. And that plays out in their daily lives on campus every day, right?
Yeah.
So I think the one thing that I've really tried to do, and what I think I've done more, is I've spent more time with our guys outside of basketball. And whether it's, having breakfast, whether it's just, obviously in our film session, after the film session is going on, really spending more time with them, trying to get to know them as people, trying to understand them better. And then really, using that information and guiding them and pushing them differently. In different way, it's just, you just got to know people, and spend time with the players now, because they deal with a lot. They deal with a lot. Obviously, Chris Joe, we dealt with social media, and it was basketball, and social media, and academics. Now you got basketball, social media, academics, NIL, and TV shows. With the NIL, they got other responsibilities. So they got like 5 or 6 different things going on. So. You really got to get a chance to spend some time with them and try to help them. And sometimes it's not even basketball. It's helping them in different areas, other areas. So I try to be available for them more, Eric. I really do. And not just a coach, but as a resource of, whether it's school, whether it's, socially, whether it's, social media, their brand, whatever it is. You got to have those conversations. I think, you get a chance to know them, because that's a part of it. And change is different. And if you don't change, and you can't have those conversations, you're not going to be able to relate to them. You're just not. You're not going to connect. So you can't hide from those conversations. You have to have those conversations and really have something to say about it, input. I mean, lucky for me, I have, my younger son now, he's part of this era. So I get a chance to, listen to him and talk to him and try to guide him. I'm more of a consultant now as far as a parent,
And too, Red, like, it's like these guys are going to come. We had Griff on last week, and he was kind of touching on it a little bit. They're coming to you more so. They're not really going to coach about that, right? They're coming to you and Griff and GMAC about all that stuff. So, like you said, you're a basketball coach, but you're a psychologist as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to deal with all these other things.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
coaching,
I
that
mean,
coaching thing, the umbrella, yeah, that umbrella what falls under coaching, assistant coach, man. I know it's a whole bunch that goes into the every day. Like you gotta be on call. They're not calling coach at 10 p.m. They're calling Coach Red and make sure if something's
Right.
wrong. So
yeah, yeah. And then I send them to coach if I can't help them. So, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think naturally, the assistant coaches in every program they spend. They spend a lot of time with the guys. That's just the way it is. The head coaches they have, they got a lot of things on their plate as well. So basketball and all, and coaching, especially in the collegiate level, yeah, you wear different hats. You really do, and the only way you can be impactful in those hats, no matter what, is spending time, man, and talking and making time for these guys, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. That's the one thing, that I think has changed. Which going back to your initial question is you spend time, like when I got here, when Chris and him was here, those guys were they kind of knew what they wanted to do. They kind of were set in their ways. They knew they had been. They were an older group. And especially this
yeah,
year because we're dealing with so many young guys. It's
Yeah.
definitely more time now. So when I came in here, my first 3 or 4 years, we were older. Our teams were older. And now with everybody, with these teams now, the last couple of years, last year we had an older team. So, you didn't have to spend as much time with that. But this year, especially this year, with a bunch of new guys, younger new guys, you spend more time with them.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's jump into talking about this year real quick because we talked a lot about, and rightfully so. We talk a lot about these freshmen coming in. They're super talented, but I want to know about the veteran guys. Those three veterans, it was Samir, Joe, and Jesse, and just how important those guys are going to be for you to have a lot of success. This year.
We all know that when you got veterans like Joe and Samir and Jesse, but really Joe and Samir, they've done a really great job of, and you guys understand this. They let the freshmen be freshmen, right?
yeah,
And they're not trying to tell them what to do every single time they make a mistake. The
Yeah.
one thing I've seen them do is when in certain situations they'll speak. They'll show by example, and I think that's the greatest thing. What they've done is Joe and Samir have led the freshmen by example. And what I mean by that is the habits that you need to be successful, the work before practice, the work after practice, being able to compete with them, every day in practice,
yeah.
just showing them how to move without the ball, the pace that they need to play at. So I think Joe and Samir from the guard position has done an unbelievable job of just kind of setting the tone without talking, but just by example. And I think, and with our freshmen, they are talented. These are freshmen, that, I was talking about it last night. Like they've played at the highest level, not in just one part of their basketball, high school career, or year. They went from high level high school basketball to high level AAU basketball.
You're right,
So it's been
exactly.
high level all around. So these guys are coming in, they're a little bit ahead of most freshmen because sometimes, most freshmen, they may have a high level high school league, but maybe not such a good AAU league, or maybe a high level AAU league and not such a good high school basketball league.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
but the freshmen that they've had it all year round. So they've come in a little bit more, seasoned. But I just love the way Joe and Samir have led by example, and I think you have to do that, especially when you got a large group of freshmen. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
We asked
absolutely.
we asked Griff last week, and we gotta ask you the same thing. With there being so many freshmen, the rumor was before they even got on campus that there might be one or two starting. We're not going to get into starting and all that stuff. But for you, who has been the most, I guess, eye opening? Because there's one thing, you see highlights, you know who's coming to the school, but now seeing them every day in practice, how they compete, how they play, how they figure out certain situations within practice, who has been the most, I guess, surprising to you? If you could give us one or two of them that you really feel, really surprised you.
I think they've all had their moments,
Hmm.
but I think Quadir he kind of jumps off right away just because of his consistency. And we all have, you know how practice goes, and we've
sure.
been getting after a lot, but I think he's been probably, I would say the most consistent with being present in practice, ready to go every day. And obviously, and that's a big part of it,
That's key.
But I think
That's
they've
huge.
all had their days. I think that's the one thing that jumps out to me. And I think Peter Carey, we talk about what I talked about earlier about how, most of our freshmen have been playing all year round. Peter Carey is a guy that probably hadn't played basketball, AAU or high school in about a year and a half. And so obviously a little injuries, and then the COVID stuff. He was dealing with a lot of that stuff, and it kind of shut him down. So he just had to work on himself and get himself back together, healthy. And I think he was a really big surprise. I think he surprised all of us coming in and being able to actually have an impact and compete on a daily basis. Against Jesse Ellis, who's done a tremendous job since he's been back, because you just didn't know where he would be at, not being able to play so long, and he was a pleasant surprise and made a big jump, based on where he was coming from. So those two guys, for me, I would say kind of stuck out a little bit more. Obviously, Malik Brown, he's very talented. Judah, he's very talented. And again, all of these guys, you walk in the gym on certain days, you would see, they've all kind of had their days.
Yeah, so I got two questions for you, Red, and this is just about the guard position. So first one, we've heard about, Judah, we've been hearing about him for a long time, super talented. They're saying he's an NBA guy. How much do you think Samir is going to help his maturation throughout the season? And then the second question, Joe being off the ball now, how much is that going to help him in his game? Now he can kind of just go and play and do what he does best and score that ball and not have to make all those decisions.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer the first one with Samir. I think he's done a really good job of, helping Judah, because he's the one guy that can kind of stay in front of Judah, so to speak, battle him. I think with this group right here, it's all about competition. You walk in the gym, it's like when Chris and you guys were in the gym, man. It's competitive, man. So these guys are going at it.
That's good.
So it's a lot of arguments if you don't stop it, man. Who ball it is, who got fouled.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
It's at a high level right now. And I think what Samir has done is really, push Judah in that aspect through competition. He's really pushed Judah through competition, and that's been a good thing. Challenging him. And the one thing about Samir is, if he's on Judah's team, he's encouraging Judah. He's playing with Judah. When he's not on Judah's team, he's challenging him. He's competing with him.
For sure.
And things like that. So he's done a really, really good job of that balance. I think that's kind of how this group has been. Joe, on the other hand, him playing a two, he's different, man. It kind of, and I thought he did a good job at the point. But when he plays the two, man, you could see how he
that comfort level different. Yeah, the comfort just changed. You can see how
he's just
you can see it,
man. He doesn't have to worry about getting someone the ball, getting them, getting people into sets. He just does what he does naturally now, and he's really good at it. I think you see his. Some people will say, he's not as athletic. He's athletic, and now that he's not bogged down with having to, like I said, run stuff and do stuff and just kind of do what he does. He's been different, man. He flies around. He can shoot it at a high level. He can shoot it at quick. He can make off-balance shots. And now,
no question.
Actually, he has a defense, and he can get to the basket more now because he constantly has the defense running at him instead of trying to, beat someone off
breaking down off the dribble.
Start and go. So that's been really good for him, and I think he's just more comfortable there.
Yeah,
And
man, I
the
tell you
crazy
what,
thing
in the
is,
summer I saw. Go ahead.
the crazy thing is that he's making more plays now. Not crazy, but he makes more plays now off the ball than he did when he had the ball in his hand.
Oh yeah, because
Just because of, like you
he's
said
playing off
too.
of closeouts. He's playing off of
Yes,
closeouts. He gets in
exactly.
the paint, kicking out, making
Yeah,
those extra passes. Yup, much
yeah.
easier for him.
And it's a long
Exactly.
closeout for him, man, because that man, his
Yeah,
range is crazy, man.
facts.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to respect it. That just
yeah,
opens up the court, the space on the floor much more. Because if you closing out damn near 40 feet out, once he puts 1-2 dribbles down the floor, he gets past that free throw line. Defenses collapse, and he could find shooters or be good. It'll be
yeah.
good, man. I'm looking forward to
I
the season.
think you'll see his whole game come together this year. I think the 3 years playing at the point, obviously he got better each year playing that position, and now playing his natural position, you're going to see him really, not only just score points, but create offense as well too, man, from that position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be able to play in more space too now. Instead of having to always have a motherfucker on his back, now he can come, like you
Yeah,
said, he coming off that screen. He gonna have some space off of that catch. And now see the shot, pump fake, drive. It's simple
yeah.
reads instead of having to fucking read the first level, second level, all that shit.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
get past your
Yep.
guy now, read the second level and third level, like you said.
That's
But
it.
I'm excited for Joe, though. I'm excited for him.
Real quick, I want to touch, and this is going to be, like we said, again, there's freshmen that could play. We didn't talk about Chris Bunch at all. Like, we know that there's guys that could play on the wing, but someone who I was definitely intrigued by last season was obviously Benny Williams, right? Benny coming into the season, I guess with, for instance, when I was a sophomore, junior, as I was getting older, when I started getting real playing time, like there was always a constant sense of, is someone coming to take my minutes? Like I gotta stay on my shit, or CJ Fair might take some of my minutes, James Sutherland, or
Right.
like every year I had to show the coach until maybe my senior year. He was like, all right, whatever happens, you're my guy. But
Right.
every year before that, there was always someone coming up behind me. Like at some point, coach was trying to recruit Tobias Harris, and what position does he play? Shit, he plays my position. So it's like I knew that there was always a constant sense of I got to stay on my game. I got to keep getting better. I got to keep proving to coach every year that I'm the right choice, right? So for a kid like Benny Williams, who we know has all the talent, all the athleticism, how has he been looking? If he's healthy at the moment, I don't know what's going on, but how has he been looking if he has been a part of practice in this early part of the season?
Real quick, Red, before you go, Red, I seen him yesterday. He about 6'10", Joe.
Yeah,
He
man.
about 6'10", Joe.
Yeah, he grew.
Joe.
He grew. He grew.
He
Man.
about
He grew. He got
6'10",
bigger.
yo.
But you know what though, Chris, you hit it on the nose, man, and we talked about it. Obviously, he's been challenged now, because it is, playing time on, for him now. Last year,
Yeah.
coming as a freshman, a little different. He played against and competed against older guys, Cole Swider, Jimmy Boeheim. Those guys were
Yep.
older, so he just, he was trying to find his bearings, and being the only freshman, I think, that hurt him a little bit too. But now, he has to bring it every day.
Every day.
Every day, and it's nothing like that. Like obviously he's experienced and he has it. He knows what we're doing, but that pressure, like you said, of that next player, that Malik Brown or that Chris Bunch, that competition in practice, that brings out the best in players, and that's what he has, and he's been really well, man. Like he's had probably 2 or 3 practices where you say, oh man, wow. Wow. But he's been consistent. Yeah, he's been consistent. He's had to bring it. And it's good for him, because at the end of the day, he's going to be a big part of what we do. And with more playing time, I always say more playing time. Everybody wants playing time, but it comes responsibility with that playing time.
No
And that's the consistency, to be there, to count it on every day, every night. You're not going to play good, but the effort, to be engaged every day, every practice, every game. That's what comes with more playing time. And so he's been able to do that. Some days, obviously, we all have those days, But he can't have it for those days because those young boys is coming in and they looking at him
Right.
and they bringing it. So it's been good. And it's been good for him. It's been good for our team.
Right.
And obviously, we got a lot of freshmen, so I don't want to miss out anymore. But Chris Bunch, elite shooter. Elite.
Yeah.
Elite shooter. He shoots it as good as some of the best guys we've had in our program, and he can really shoot the ball. And again, like I said, every one of those guys have had their days,
Exactly.
and again, when he has it going, man, we look different. We look different. You have 3 or 4 guys constantly on the court that can space the floor and shoot it. So, but now Benny, he's been good. But again, yeah, he knows every day, man. Someone is challenging him and competing, and that's what you need.
And that's you need it. That's what I was gonna say. You need that in the back of your head. You gotta know. Let me go. Hey, look, I wasn't gonna go lift today, or wasn't. Let me go ahead and lift shoot because that's what it does. That's what it does to you. Like I'm telling you, it's not like it's only but so many people that were just like safe at Syracuse. And once I got that feeling my senior year, once again, I was like, whew, it's just like a weight off my shoulder. I'm still gonna put the work in, but I know now that there's no one that could really challenge my playing time or whatever the case may be. But coming in, CJ Fair, like them guys really wanted to go ahead. Even a guy like Deion Waiters had to come off the bench, but they wanted playing time, right? So, that's good for Benny. I'm glad to hear that.
And that's why I said our gym kind of feels like that when I first got here. Because, you got the freshmen and then you got, our older guys, they got a chip too now. It's their time, so they got something to prove too. So, and get ready and prepare for their role. So again, it's been great, man. The gym has been very, very lively. It's been competitive, but what I love about it is, they are a connected group. They are a connected group, and when the practice is over with, you see them joking and laughing and teasing each other, man. But that's what I love about this group, and I'm excited about it.
That's super important. That's super important because Red, if anyone knows, you've been in the coaching game for so long. With these young guys, it's gonna be ups and downs, right? Regardless, just like you're gonna have your curves, no matter how talented you are. So, and Griff said it last week when we were talking to him about how connected this group is. So, when they go through those ups and downs, they go through those losses. Judah might have a game where, he has a bad game. Now they talking about him, is he really a draft? All that stuff. So it's important to have that tight-knit group. You know what I mean?
No, you see it, man. You definitely see it, and that's, and you need that. You see guys when, they, through practice and someone may, drop their head or something, it's not uncommon to hear 2 or 3 people say, come on, man, you good, man. Don't worry about it. Pick your head up. And it's not coming from the coaches, and it's not coming from the coaches. So that's a good thing. That's how that, they are together.
That's good stuff.
Red,
I'm excited.
Red, talk about, so last year's team, we know it was different than we're usually used to seeing the Syracuse team. Like we're usually used to seeing the athleticism, the length. We play like this. Like when we're really good, we play like this. We're able to get buckets up and down in transition, and not taking anything away from those guys last year, because me and Joe, we talked about it a lot last year. Like those guys played really hard, and I think like they got everything out of that they could out of themselves. You know what I mean? As far as there were limitations as far as athleticism and speed, whatever it may be. But now we looking at this year's team, right? Now we like, okay, you talking about the practices, how the competitive spirit is back in not saying it wasn't last year, but this team is like, all right, this looks like a Syracuse team. Like the length, the big guards, the big wings, guys are getting to the basket in 2 dribbles. You know what I mean? What really excites you about this year's team going into the season? And give me like a few keys that you guys think you really have to be good at, to be able to compete at a high level. And then, like Coach Boeheim said, we heard him say it, a tournament run. You guys are going to make the tournament.
Yeah. I think the one thing is obviously, it always, to be good, you got to have a defensive, you got to have a good defense.
Yeah.
That side of the ball. And with this team, it's going to really be obviously learning the defense, and then rebounding the ball. I think if on the defensive end, that's going to be first and foremost. That'll really kind of kind of keep us in the games, which last year that was what our offense kept us in the games, but when we needed to get a stop defensively, we couldn't
Yeah.
get those stops. Whether it was a shot, whether it was it came down to a
A
loose
rebound.
ball,
Yeah, 50,
rebound or
50.
something like
Yeah.
that. So obviously we have those. We have the quickness, we have the athleticism, but we still have to finish those plays. Just because we have it, we got to be able to do it at a high level. So obviously,
Yeah.
getting our defense tight. The thing I like about this team offensively is I think we don't shoot it as well as the team last year, but I think we can still score the ball in different ways this year. I think we can put pressure on teams and get teams in foul trouble this year and get easy transition baskets. And when I say easy,
Well said.
when we
Well
get a chance
said.
to run, I think we can get some easy baskets. And this year it could be a three, it can be a tough finish, an easy two, maybe an and one. So I think that's where we can get some steals. I think our defense, our athleticism should be able to create some easier buckets this year. I thought last year we had to really, and this is how well this team shot last year. We had to execute, man. We didn't get a lot of easy transition baskets last year, but we had to execute and shoot. And we were half court, but which was crazy, and which speaks to how good a shooter these guys were. That we averaged, probably the most points we averaged in a long time, man.
Tough shots too, right?
Yeah, man, we made tough shots, but I think this team will be able to has the ability to put pressure on the defense and get to the. We should get to the foul line a lot more. We really should.
Yeah, that's going to help. That goes hand in hand. That stuff's going to help each other out. Being able to get in transition. Now the defense, the zone will be set back up because and then being able to get steals on the defense, get out in transition. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to watch this team.
We're coming toward, we're coming towards the end now. We got a couple quick hitters, quick little question for you. We were speaking before, right? And we're talking about the success that the football program is having, this early in the season, undefeated, and usually, let's call a spade. Football teams usually not that good. They don't usually win. They don't usually have this much success early, and everybody's usually always looking forward to basketball season because, like, God damn, we need something to look forward to, right? But this year coming in, with the season that we had last year as a basketball program, not a football program doing so well, do you sense any type of, I don't want to say pressure, but with the season, for fans especially to think like, oh, we gotta win some games because the way Syracuse is looking now, we can't be the ones that look bad because for a long time we've been holding the university up for a very long time, and now football is doing well. So, what do you think?
Well, first of all, man, and I know you guys are too, man. I'm so pumped up that our football team is 6-0, man.
100%.
It's
that's dope,
man. It's man. I go to games and watch games. I'm just excited for the football team, and it's good, man. It's good for the university. It's good for the brand. We all are one. We all represent Cuse. So that's exciting. I think for us, and we want to be good regardless. I don't think it's no added pressure for us to do anything but the pressure that we had that we didn't have this type of season we wanted last year. That's enough pressure. And again, that's over with. Last year's over with. This is a new team, new year. You just want to have every year you approach it, with the same focus. You want to play well, you want to win, you want to win as many games as you can, and you want to make the tournament. So that never changes. You know how it is during the season. Both of you guys, you can't worry about anything else except your team and what you need to do. And in your game. So I don't think it's any added pressure at all, Chris. Not at all.
Hey, for some reason, I could just picture Bayham saying some funny shit in a team meeting.
No doubt. I was just gonna say that.
I could just imagine him saying something, man.
Like, Joe, I've been fucking doing this for 50 years. You think 1 year is, and we're gonna give the,
I've been doing this for a real long time. Real long time.
I've been doing it for a real long time. 1 year is not going to do shit. Trust me, Chris.
No doubt.
He's the man.
No doubt.
He's the man.
Yeah.
We're excited, Red, man. We appreciate you coming on. We want to get you back on during the year, man, just to chop it up about, how the team doing and stuff. But man, we appreciate you coming on. Now we gotta round it out, get GMAC on here and round it out with y'all. No doubt, man. We appreciate you coming on, Red.
It was great. It was great. It was fun, man. Love talking to you guys. Obviously, you guys are doing a great job with this thing, man. It's exciting, man. So I look forward to catching back up with you guys, and I'll see you guys around, man. Joe, how your team doing, man?
We're doing all right, man. Look, I sent Griff a little prospect, 6'11", 14-year-old. Come on, man. We need him. We need him. I said, come on. We need him at Syracuse, man. I told them, but we're looking good. We're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Good. All right, fellas.
All right.
All right, Red. Appreciate you, man.
Take care, man.
Joe? Yes, sir. That was a good one.
Before we get off, hold on. That was a great one. Before we get off, one more thing I just want to say. November 19th, we got the Thanksgiving Turkey Drive. The Most at Syracuse, Elite Wealth Management, Pastime Athletic Club, Liverpool High School. You could drop off all your donations there. We're looking for, canned goods, sides, stuffing, grape, whatever it is, man. Drop it off at those locations. And then November 19th from 12 to 3 p.m., we're going to be handing them out at the Tip Hill Community Center, 201 Hamilton Street. So if you can, if you know anyone who needs, Thanksgiving dinners, please let them know. We're trying to help out as much as we can in the Syracuse community. And that's how we do, man. Joe, that's how we do, Joe. You already know.
That's how we do it. Once again, my man need a key to the city. I don't know another person. Maybe he's doing it behind the scenes, but I haven't seen him front line like he has been for the past, X amount of years, few years, 3, 4, 5 years, front line, doing the things for the community that matter. That's the key, right? That matters. You know what I mean? To be able to go drop food off, and shout out to the community and the people who do drop off as well, because you guys are a big part of, having it be successful. But for you to put this together, Rod, and I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, you the GOAT for that, man, because, that's feeding families. Now you're doing something completely different. You helping families have a good Thanksgiving, and that's huge, because we know the holidays like that, you bond over food, and to be able to provide that assistance and help them out and help them have a good Thanksgiving and feed some kids, bro. Big time. Man,
that's what we do it for. That's what makes us keep going, man. We trying to help out, give back, make an impact, inspire.
No doubt. Aspire
until next
inspire.
Time. Yeah. Until next time, y'all. Let's get it in.
Yes, sir.